Ethical framework and film critic. First, I'm going to talk about mise-en-scene and why it is important in film. Mise-en-scene is an important aspect of a film because it is everything that you see on screen. Mise-en-scene consists of settings and props, costume, hair, and makeup, and characters. Without mise-en-scene, the film wouldn't exist truly. It is what makes a film a film. And mise-en-scene gives you an insight to what the genre of the film is, or the tension of the scene, or even the lighting of a room. When the first scene opens up, it can give you an insight to what the film might be about, or what the tension of the film could be like. This is why mise-en-scene is important, because it is what makes a film. Mise-en-scene includes how the characters are performing and how they are and what they are wearing, their facial expressions, and even their tone of voice. And mise-en-scene can include camera angles too, like camera angle, a high angle shot of a camera a low angle shot of a camera looking at the character can make it look more intimidating. I'm going to talk about The Purge 2013. The Purge is an American fictional horror / thriller, and it takes place on a night where all crime becomes legal, and police and medical care become suspended for 12 hours between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. Since crime has been on the rise and prisons are overcrowded, the government decided that for one night of the year, crime, including murder, would become illegal. And the government hopes that the Purge night is enough to bring crime down at any point in the year, since the Americans will bring out all their hate and anger out on each other for one night. In the film, the rich don't want to take part in the Purge, so they lock down their house every year to protect themselves from people taking part in the Purge. But later on in the film, the son of the main character sees on the security camera that a homeless man is running, asking for help. He opens up his house to the homeless man, but when his dad tries to close the house down, the homeless man is already inside, and the family have to decide what they can do, because the homeless man could be dangerous. Also, the rich family are all white, and the homeless man is black. Mise-en-scene in The Purge. In the opening scene of The Purge, it opens up to an American wealthy family. The colours in the opening scene are bright, but there is some low-key lighting. The characters in the opening scene are wearing casual clothes, like any other family that are at home. The camera angle is a low-key angle shot, and is creating tension as the camera is slowly moving along the floor and looks up at one of the main characters. To the audience, it makes you think it would be a creature that is lurking on the floor, and when it looks up at the character, it makes you think she's going to be attacked, when in fact it's just her son. The Purge takes place in a large American home, and the estate is a gated community which protects them from people outside the estate who may be taking part in the Purge. There's a clip here. As you can see, there is a longer shot of the floor.
Rob, I think you need to click on your browser because we can still see your PowerPoint.
Oh.
If you just
Can you see it?
if you just minimize your presentation, it might
Yeah.
be behind.
Creeping up on me like that, Charlie.
Is that better?
So quit playing with Timmy and
No.
Still can't see it now. Can anybody else see it? Is it just mine, or can you see Rob's PowerPoint?
Can't see it.
See it? We can
Can
hear.
you hear it?
I can hear it playing. We just can't see it. I think is it popped up in a different window.
Yeah.
So if you minimize your PowerPoint, try that at the top. You,
I can't go.
Christ, Charlie, that's twice today. You're gonna give me.
go back to your presentation, Rob, because we can't see it.
That's what I'm trying to do.
I installed a night vision program and I insulated his motion barely, and he can now play music to accompany him on his missions.
Sorry about that. As you can see, as you saw in the, well, if you could see it, there was a camera at a low angle shot. It would come up to the main character. At first, the audience would think there's a creature lurking, but it was just a sun with a camera, and it made a jump. The Purge is a very political film, and it portrays how different class are seen in society. For example, from the beginning of the film, right up until the Purge commences, it shows that the rich family are prepared for the Purge. It also shows that the rich don't want to take part in any of the crime that becomes legal on Purge night. But the average Americans, mainly the working class, are more likely to take part in the Purge, such as looting, arson, and even murder. The government believes that if for one night, every year the crime becomes legal for one night, they think crime levels throughout the year would decrease. So the point of Purge night is for Americans to release hunger, hatred, and the government wants everyone to take part in the Purge, especially murder, so it solves the problems of overcrowded prisons and hospitals. What I've noticed too is that the rich celebrate Purge night by having parties and having locked down their home, while in hopes that the poor take part in murdering other citizens. What this shows is that the rich do not care about the poor, and that the government only care about the rich. What the film also shows that young adults are mainly the ones taking part in the Purge, while the middle-aged and the elderly are more likely to stay at home. The Purge Anarchy. I'm going to analyse this film as well. The Purge Anarchy is an American horror thriller movie, and just like the 2013 Purge movie, it takes place on Purge night, where all crime, including murder, is legal from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. till 7 a.m. And police and other military services are suspended for 12 hours, just like in the first film. Unlike the 2013 Purge, the Purge Anarchy doesn't focus on the rich Americans and focus on the average American, and it shows an insight into how they celebrate Purge night or how they survive Purge. Mise en scene in the Purge Anarchy. In the scene I've included below, I'll be talking about the mise en scene. The film takes place in the city of Los Angeles, unlike the 2013 Purge, which was set in a large suburban home. In the scene, there's a lot of dark colours and low-key lighting, since it is set at night. What I've noticed that the Purge that The Purge 2013 there is more bright colours since it's focused on the rich, but in the amateur film there isn't much colours for the working class Americans, which is telling us that there isn't much colour for working class. The characters are wearing casual clothing, but some who are participating in the purge dress up in costumes and masks to hide their identity and or to scare the people they are planning to murder. In the scene, there is some high-angle shots, especially when the camera is overlooking Los Angeles and showing the large screen not in the purge. I would show you that, but it didn't work last time. The political side of the Purge amateur. Just like the 2013 Purge movie, this Purge is also a political film. It shows mainly how the working class survived the Purge night. The government believes that the working class are more likely to take part, and from the movie you can see that it's mostly the working class that are looting and killing people. What I've noticed is that although the working class are more likely to take part in the Purge, they are most likely against the Purge too, since with less poor people, more money will go to the rich. The Purge election year. The Purge election year is an American thriller/horror and is the third movie of the Purge movie series. Unlike the first two Purge movies, the Purge election year focuses on both the working class and the government/president. In the movie, the main character, who owns a small store in Washington, D.C., is a working class man who gets his store prepared for Purge night to prevent people from breaking in and taking stuff from his store. The working class family don't want to take part in the Purge, and they want the vote against the Purge in the election. But the government are doing all they can to get all the votes and get the senator killed so that there isn't a chance for the votes to go to the senator. Because if the Purge is done forever, the population will decrease, and the government gets less money since must give more money. The mise-en-scene. In the clip, the setting of the scene is set in the street in Washington, D.C. In the middle of the Purge, the senator is being hunted by everyone since she wants the Purge to come to an end permanently. But most of the working class want the Purge to continue every year. The senator is still in uniform, but at the same time is looking casual, but she is trying to protect herself from people that are after her. The main characters who own the store in Washington are also wearing clothes that the average person would wear. In the clip below, there is low-key lighting, which is expected since the Purge takes place at night, and in the scene you can see a barrel on fire, which could symbolise danger or something is going to happen. The political side of election year. The Purge election year is probably the most political movie out of all the Purge movie series. The reason for that is that the movie was released the same year as the US elections for the next president. The two characters in the Purge running for president are similar to the two running for president at the same time in 2016, which was Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. One of them want the annual Purge to continue every year, while the other want the Purge to come to an end. The senator who wants to end the Purge is being hunted, as you can see in the clip, since the rich and the government want to be voted for the Purge to continue. And the more the working class are killed off, the more votes for the Purge to continue, since the rich want the Purge to continue every year. The First Purge. The First Purge movie is about the first time they introduced the Purge. The new founding fathers of America want to test a new psychological theory which hopes to aim at reducing crime levels, which were high throughout the year. And the founding fathers are wanting to test if for one night crime, which includes arson, looting, and even murder, is legal for 12 hours. And at first, the people are taking part in crime like looting, burglary, but When the First Purge commences, the first place to test the purge is Staten Island, and the government is hoping that the people who live on Staten Island take part. At first, people are committing crimes such as robberies and looting, but are slow to commit murders. And when the government keeps an eye on Staten Island, they notice crime is happening, but they also notice that murders aren't happening. But the government encourages them to murder in hopes that the citizens of Staten Island will release all their hatred in them, and purge, so that after Purge night, America would be crime free and people would live happy lives. Mise en scene. In the clip I've included below, the scene is set in a suburban neighbourhood on Staten Island. In the scene, the people on Staten Island are having parties that are usually illegal, but because of this purge, it's become legal for 12 hours. The people are wearing clothes people normally wear, but some are wearing unusual clothing such as contacts to make them look more intimidating. There is a lot of low-key lighting since it takes place at night, but there is also a lot of blue lighting shown in the scene, as well as a bit of purple. The blue could represent sadness or depression, whereas colourful lights could symbolise a new beginning for the American people. There is a lot of wide-angle shots to show that how many people are taking part in the purge parties. There is a low-angle shot when the two women are on the ground, while the man is there trying to strangle one of the women. The low-angle shot is there to make him look more intimidating and frightening. The political side of the First Purge. Just like the other Purge movies, the First Purge is political, and although released in 2018, 5 years after the original Purge movie was released, this film is about the first year they introduced the Purge. And the founding fathers of America chose Staten Island to test the Purge, and they aimed to see if the Purge works on decreasing crime after the Purge is over. This film shows us that the working class, average Americans, are more likely to do illegal parties and even get involved in murdering, while the rich / government just sit back and watch in hopes that the working class murder each other, so that prisons and hospitals are overcrowded in the future and see less people. And with less people, the government can use the extra money to improve towns and cities, as well as making the rich richer and the poorer poorer. From analysing the entire Purge film series, they also follow the same pattern. At the beginning of each of the Purge movies, it introduces us to the main characters, and we follow each of their lives before the Purge commences. The Purge 2013 introduces us to the wealthy American family who live in a large, secure house. Lots of high-key lighting and bright colours. Dan actually introduces us to one of the main characters who wants to get home before the Purge begins. Purge election year introduces us to the working class family, and we see how they cope and survive Purge night. The first Purge introduces us to the working class of Staten Island, and in the movie, they are the first place in the US where the Purge is taking place. All 4 movies of the Purge are political in their own way. All 4 of them are about the Purge night, and all mainly show the working class taking part. The Purge election year is the most political movie yet, since it was released the same year as the US elections. From what I've seen throughout all the Purge movies, it's mainly the young adults taking part in the Purge. There were more young adults taking part than middle-aged adults. I've also analysed another film, Inspector Calls. And Inspector Calls is a movie that is based off of Inspector Calls' play and book, which was written in 1945 and is set in March of 1912. The film is about a young woman who committed suicide, and the inspector believes all the Burnham family played a part in evil, leading to her suicide. The inspector visits the Burnham family house and questions each of them about evil. At the end of the film, They all realise each of them played a part in Ava's death. At the beginning of the beginning, they all celebrate the engagement of Arthur's Berlin's daughter. But when the inspector arrives, the engagement is disrupted and is replaced with tragedy. The inspector wants to guilt the family since none of the family offered to help her when she needed it, and the few made her life unbearable. Mise en scene in the cliff of the inspector calls. The location of the scene is in a large mansion set just after the Edwardian era. The furniture and decoration is typical for a 1912 upper-class family. The characters are wearing suits and dresses since it's a special occasion, and the suits and dresses are Edwardian style. The lighting in the scene often includes, although the lights are on, there is low-key lighting, since the inspector has told them that Eva Smith has died, and that the Berlin family are responsible for it. The low-key lighting represents tragedy and sadness. The political side of the inspector calls. In the film, you could see that the upper class don't really care about the working class, which in today's society is still like this. Since it's set in 1912, Mr. Berlin sees on the newspaper that the Titanic is set to set sail in April, and since the newspaper says it's unsinkable, he believes that it's impossible for it to sink, but the audience know that it did sink. This shows that you can't believe fake news and that people exaggerate things. In today's world, there is a lot of fake news around and a lot of news companies like to exaggerate things. Also, towards the end of the film, the inspector says we are responsible for each other, and if mankind can't learn from that, then a time will come soon when he will be taught in blood, fire, and anguish. The inspector quote is strong since the audience know that 2 years later World War I commences, and it will be one of the deadliest wars in history. What else I've noticed is that in the film is that towards the end of the film, the younger generation feel guilty about the death of Ava, whereas the old generation don't feel as guilty. And that's it.
Real, thank you. Has anybody got any questions or anything?
No, not really.
No.
Sorry about the YouTube clips. I didn't
I think it was just playing in the background rather than on the presentation.